the Faith and Fellowship Ministry that decided to put this on thought it would be a nice idea to have a speaker series going, an ongoing speaker series, where we'll have a variety of people coming. Some will be question and answer, some might be a panel discussion. And overwhelmingly, people said, let's start with Father Patterson. And
with a judge. You know, it's probably striving to communicate to the people of the parish. First of all, learning myself, continuing to learn. We have continuing education all the time. We have to always be up on reading and what the church is thinking. We always want to think with the church, and to be able to communicate that whole idea of how do we think with the church today. The church of 25 years ago is gone. The church of the future is yet to be unfolded. So we have to continue to think with the church, and that's what's going to assure that we are going to be open to the Spirit of Jesus, and we're going to be open to what it means to be a disciple of Jesus, what it means to be the body of Christ here on earth. What makes me angry? Well,
truth be told, Father.
when I burn the toast. No, I suppose what makes me angry is sometimes if I find people who are closed off without any desire to grow and any desire to listen. And I try not to show that anger at the person or people, but it is difficult sometimes. And I don't think that I've experienced it much here in the parish, to be honest with you. I don't. I remember when I was doing pastoral planning for the diocese, that there were some situations that I really felt very angry. And so it was those kinds of things. Well, I had two siblings. I have one sibling now, a sister, an older sister. She doesn't like the idea that I call her older. She lives in the Nan's, and I had a developmentally disabled younger sister who died in the year 2000. And childhood, I grew up on a farm in Vermont, lived there till I was about 11 years old. We moved to Albany, and where my father found work with my uncle, who was a contractor, built new homes. And my mother was a stay-at-home mom until we went off I was in college at the time when she started working outside the home. Grew up on a very friendly street in the middle of Albany by Our Lady of Angels Parish on Central Avenue. We actually belonged to St. Patrick's Parish. And but it was as I look back on it, a very calm and wonderful childhood. I started in school 10 when I was in 6th grade, and then 6th grade ended in that school, and we could go to Philip Livingston, but I went to St. Patrick's, and I'm grateful that I did, because I was introduced to the priests of the parish and got to know them, belonged to the Legion of Mary, went to Vincentian High School, and did more things. It was the interesting thing about it, I guess, in those days I was more connected with the parish, as I think most people were, than with the school I went to. So there was a lot of activities in the parish that we joined in doing. A steady girlfriend, no. Okay. I went to dances in high school, and were friendly with girls, and we would go out together as groups, but I never had a steady girlfriend, no. I think and I remember being really friendly with some girls like in 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, you know. But, and I've been a priest now for 46 years.
Wow.
Yes. Study.
I'm not, that's a question.
I went from high school into the minor seminary at Monte Cristi in Albany, our minor seminary. And then from the first 2 years of college, it was like Hudson Valley in those days, first 2 years of college. And then I went to St. Bonaventure University for the 6 years, last 2 years of college, and 4 years of theology. Ordained in 1970. Probably when I was in 4th or 5th grade. I had the desire to be a priest, but I was always afraid that God didn't want me to be a priest. Oh. So if you can believe this theology, I used to pray that God wanted me to be a priest. Who was I praying to? I like the idea of working with people, and so when I was a little kid, I always thought it would be nice to be a doctor, you know, to be able to help people get better and to assist them, and that was probably what I wanted to be before then. Yes, I do get tired. I do. One of the things that I think really that is attested to in the seminars that we've been to is maybe simplistic answer, but it's prayer. I try to begin every day early, taking care of what I need to do. So before I go over for Mass, I usually try to spend an hour or so in prayer. We have a little reservation chapel in the rectory, so I don't even have to venture out. You know? I can just go into the chapel. And that is an amazing source of energy for me. And I know that it is for many, many other people as well. Because when you're reflecting on the scriptures and you're looking at your day, your life, and you see so many things that I can be doing, and so many different ways of looking at life, you really want to get out there and you want to do it, you want to make a difference. So that's really what I think, for me, the basis of it. Plus a good night's rest too, really.
I don't want it to happen ever.
Oh, isn't that nice? Well, I'll be 75 in 2019. And 6 months before our 75th birthday, we have to submit to Bishop Scharfenberger our intent for retirement. So in the spring of 2019, I will submit my letters reminding him that I'm going to be 75. That is the canonical age when we are supposed to be retiring. But I will ask Bishop Hubbard probably at that time, if my health permits and everything else goes okay, I'll ask him if I can remain on until 2020 when I'll celebrate 50 years of priesthood.
Yay!
Yay!
Pray that I make it. Actually, the priest doesn't drink. The chalice can be used by anybody. I think for convenience sake, I find it easier to drink out of the chalice, the main cup. And if Father Barker, when he was celebrating, he would drink out of that, and Deacon Brian as well. And then to distribute the cups to the Eucharistic ministers. But sometimes, you see, you can understand when you're doing, I want to do that as quickly as I can, not to delay. So that's why I just give the cup to the Eucharistic ministers, and they share it with one another. It would take time if I pass the main chalice around to everybody, and then let me say this: it is encouraged, if possible, that there would be one cup for everybody to drink from. I remember years ago I made a retreat over at St. Joseph's Abbey, Spencer, the Trappists, and they had, I was fascinated by this, they had a cup like this on the altar, and it had handles on it, you know, and they actually ladled out from that main cup the small cups on the altar, so that everybody received from the one cup, which is really a very significant thing. You know? We have gotten permission to celebrate marriages outside of the church, the Catholic Church. Now, I've celebrated weddings in, for example, last summer, I have some friends in Hudson, and the youngest boy was married on Lake George, and it was outside, and it was overlooking the lake, and what really saved the day for the family, the boy's family is strongly involved in Catholic Church, and they're rather traditional. So they were disappointed when the marriage was not going to happen in a church. And so it struck me, it was the grace of the Holy Spirit. Before the wedding began, because we were overlooking the lake, and it was a beautiful day, gorgeous day, and the water was like so blue, no clouds in the sky, nothing. And I explained to them that the lake was originally the Lake of the Blessed Sacrament, and named by Isaac Jogues. And the name was changed when we had the people coming from England in honor of King George. Well, I explained that to them, and they thought that was wonderful, and it kind of assuaged all of their tension about the wedding. But we get permission. If there's a good reason, Bishop will give permission. I've done weddings in banquet halls. You have to have a place where the wedding can be outside of, there can't be a bar or anything like that in the place where the wedding is. And usually, right now, the couple has to write a letter to the bishop personally requesting this special permission. And then I have to write a letter to go with that, with my assessment and my recommendation. And usually I have recommended that the wedding be outside. What's happening today is these venues for the reception, sometimes they're way off in a distance. They're like, for example, there's a couple that I'm preparing now. The families are coming from out of town. There's elderly people involved, and the reception is over in, I believe it's over either in Saratoga or someplace in Albany. And they wanted permission to have the wedding itself, the marriage, in the reception hall. And I probably will recommend that because it's going to be very difficult. They've got elderly people who find it difficult to ambulate. And Also, once again, we try to think with the church, what is going to be the pastoral decision here? So we say no. And people have, that couple, I always say, has a kind of a bitter taste perhaps, thinking that we wanted our wedding, but the church said no. Is it possible that the church can be lenient? Yes, it is. So why not give them permission? Personally, I would rather not do it outside of the church. I think there's a whole different spirit when the wedding happens. The people are not as settled. You don't have the opportunity for a grand entrance with an organ and everything. So that's my personal preference, but if the church says it can be done, and it can be done as spiritually or as in the best way we can, I say why not?